Welcome back, my PBM family. Welcome back. Another episode of Old School Cops, Justified or Not. So listen, we got a video that, is a police-related shooting. So, I always not only like to educate you, I like to bring in guests who have just as good experience or even more to give you their views on what they observed when it comes down to assessing these police videos. I have Anthony here, who's been in law enforcement for many years. He held the rank of police detective, police officer, police gang investigator, police sergeant. So he has a lot of experience, and he's up from the community. So I trust his judgment because not everybody wearing his uniform understands police work. You understand what I'm saying? You got street cops, and then you got people who wear the uniform. I consider this guy a street cop, so he's going to tell it like it is. He's going to keep it real. He understands the culture and the people. So let's get to this video so you can hear our assessment about this video. This is a video of Justified or Not. It was hot in demand. You guys kept seeing it, and I kept seeing over and over again, Joe, give an assessment on this. Tell me what you think. So I'm doing a video at your request, and I'm going to tell you what you think. I'm going to tell you what I think, and I'm also bringing on special guest who has the backing and the experience to tell you exactly what he thinks. Take a look at the video. Okay, from the naked eye, without knowing any police policies, police training, procedures in the law, most people would look at this video and say, look, she came to the aid of a fellow officer. The officer looked like the suspect was getting the best of him. Threw him on the ground, was on top of him. Now, we can all play the what if game. What if he'd have grabbed the gun? What if this? What if that? Law enforcement, the training is, we train on the what if factors. We create scenarios, and we try to run officers, recruits through these scenarios, and we train them and prepare them on the what if. But there's a huge factor. Anytime somebody say what if, they don't understand the training because we respond on what is currently the threat right in front of us at that particular moment, at that particular time. Now, if you listen to the video carefully, when she runs up, she yells, taser, taser, taser. She shoots. Then she says, oh shit, I shot him, right? Now, let me explain to you deadly force policy. Deadly force policy, right? If an officer has the perception that his life or the life of someone else's is at risk of being lost at that very second, and there's no other options, they are justified to use deadly force. Those are the elements of deadly force. So when you look at an incident relating to a police shooting where deadly force is used when the officer pulls that trigger, you got to ask yourself, does this meet the deadly force policy standards? Okay, remember, the life of the officer or the life of someone else is about to be lost at that time, and there's no other options at hand to prevent that loss of life. Now, people are probably going to make the argument that, yeah, the suspect could have grabbed this and she could have perceived that the officer. I would totally agree with that. But there's one problem. She said, taser, taser, taser. Oh, shit, I shot him. Saying taser, 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 and then, oh, shit, I shot him. She didn't intend to use deadly force. How do you justify deadly force when you don't intend to use it? You got to remember policy, procedures, and even the law, right? Just the average citizen using deadly force. You have to feel, or you have to be able to argue that my life was at risk of being lost. She can't make that argument because she, right out the gate, was intending to use her taser. Now, if she'd have just ran up and just shot him and then said, I was in fear that he was going to kill my partner, then I, as a union vice president, and I represented a lot of officers, I could really be comfortable making that argument. I can't make that argument if that wasn't her intentions. Her intentions was to use a taser. Taser, taser, taser. Those are all the procedures in deadly force. In her mind, the force that she have chose to use was using a taser. Because she used the gun in lieu of using her taser, It's not justified. It's an accidental homicide. It was an accident. That would be an involuntary manslaughter, some type of reckless endangerment charge. She is not justified under policy for deadly force. And that's my take to it. Detective Sergeant, what do you say about that?
I mean, no, you pretty much covered that. I mean, it's what she perceives. And she didn't perceive her life being in danger. If she did, she would not have reached for a taser. So she accidentally kind of went and elevated the use of force accidentally, reaching for a weapon. And based on her response, she even telling you her intent, that's, pretty much, I didn't mean to, she said, what, oh shit, I didn't mean to actually shoot, I meant to use a taser, based on what she verbalized. So yeah, and it's hard to gauge fear.
Right.
It's really hard to gauge fear from any one officer. You could have 5 different officers respond differently.
Thank you.
But based on how they act and what they say and what they do, pretty much will dictate or explain what happened. And based on what she said and what she did was 2 different things.
Right. And, we're not here to bash officers. We're here to educate you. At the end of the day, everybody wants to go home. Officers are held to a higher standard. So when the community says, I would have done this, I would have done that, and I would disagree because I understand policy, procedure, and the law. Officers are trained to follow these procedures. So if they don't, it's my job to educate you guys out there. If she wouldn't have said taser, 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 and she intended to use deadly force, that would be pretty much a stronger argument to justify deadly force. I've repped a lot of police officers, like I said, as a union official, so I know how the department would come at somebody if they're intending to actually, get them in a sling. You kind of understand what I'm saying? Now, far as a jury, far as a prosecutor, because they lack the knowledge and understanding of policy procedures, the way I just broke it down, most people be like, oh, wow, I would never have looked at it like that. I hear that all the time. I go, because you don't know what a police officer should and shouldn't do. You're just looking through the untrained eyes saying, wow, that looks like a justified shooting. You see a suspect on top of your partner and he's being overpowered, you're thinking that any time now that this could really go bad, so I got to hurry up and use deadly force because he is definitely overpowering, right? But an officer knows that she fucked up by saying taser, 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 by saying, oh, that's telling everybody who understands the training that she really thought she was using a taser. There was no intent to use deadly force. So you can't wipe away her intent because deadly force shows that particular officer had to perceive that someone's life is in danger, about to be lost, either her or her partner. So now she needs to use deadly force. She never thought that because she used taser. If she thought that, then she should have went straight to deadly force and not taser. But she didn't. She mistakenly used deadly force. And so that's my take on that. Please continue, keep sending videos. Tone, you got anything else to add to that particular video? Because I mean,
no,
in the comments are saying, it's a justified shooting. And I get it. I understand. You don't know what I know. You don't know policy, procedures, training. You don't know, like, we're held to a higher standard than the average person sitting back trying to quarterback this. There's a lot of things that I see where people would give a benefit of the doubt because they don't understand. Nah, officers, you live to that higher standard for a reason. You go through training for a reason. People think the 6 months of academy is it. No, it's a continuing training. You got roll call training, you got in-service training. You're constantly training. And don't get transferred to another unit. It's more training. Every unit requires more training. You go to specialized units, more training. You have to perform higher than the average person walking around. So you got to think. Somebody in the comments said, oh, her adrenaline she couldn't think because her adrenaline was too high. Believe it or not, what you've seen here is very basic. A guy didn't want to go to jail and you tussle him to the ground. It's you and your. That's an everyday occurrence. What happens is we don't see it end up like this because most officers went over there, grabbed them, threw them to the ground. It would have been a 2 against 1. 9 times out of 10, 9 times out of 10, 2 officers can control one subject unless you have these rare occasions, right, that this person is extremely strong, they're high on drugs, some type of drugs, but that's not the everyday. You have way more regular people getting subdued by 2 officers than you don't. And so don't in the comments, oh, I've seen one person throw 5 officers. That doesn't happen on a regular basis. It doesn't.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
No, on the flip side to this, Joe, you see like that same scenario. Let's say that individual dies. You know that this film's going to be in the video is going to be in the courts, right? It's going to go before a grand jury.
Right.
They're going to try to get a conviction from, but it's not going to happen because she did not willfully intend to kill. And the people are going to be outraged. The family, oh, she killed him. She killed him. She didn't set out to say, you know what, I'm going to willfully and purposely kill you. That didn't happen.
Right.
And, you know, those are the circumstances behind it, you know?
Right. And then most people, like, say a DA that wants to charge her, might not be successful trying to argue a point to a jury who's looking at this incident like everybody else is looking at it, like, you know, the guy was getting overpowered. You know, she came in, kind of saved his life. They're not, so she might not be found guilty if a prosecutor would push that. You only look at the incidents where officers was found convicted. You know, when and we can use the George Floyd case, and I've never seen the prosecution of an officer this thorough. And what I mean by that is they ain't held no stops. They brought in the chief, they brought in trainers, they brought in the training manual. When the last time you seen that in the prosecution of an officer? I've never seen that go to that extent. The FTO, the trainers in the academy, the OICO, they had everybody on that stand saying, that's not a part of what we train. That's not how we train. They brought people from the outside. Are you familiar with this type of training? No, that's not. When it comes down to the prosecution of officers, I think there should be tasked with a special task force that understands what officers can and can't do. Because to the average eye, I guarantee you, a jury would have found it very hard to hold her accountable for making that mistake, because they're going to look at it like everybody from the naked eye, like, damn, I mean, what can she do? You know, she couldn't do anything else, but she knew she could do something else because she used her taser. She didn't have to use deadly force. And in deadly force policy, it says at the end, where everybody likes to leave out when you're talking deadly force policy, if there's no other options, she saw a tussle. She saw an option to use her taser because she didn't feel that that officer at that moment life was at risk. Because if she did, she would have went straight. She would have skipped the levels and went straight to the final deadly force, used deadly force, and stood on that. She didn't do that. So that's what makes it unjustified shooting. So there it is. You got my assessment. I brought in another expert in the field of police tactics, and he told you how he felt about it. And listen, keep sending these videos, and we'll keep giving assessments. At the end of the day, you guys get home safe. At the end of the day, educating you guys on what you can and can't do, what police can and can't do. This is for you to be educated. At the end of the day, if you're going to fight, you take that fight to the courtroom, not on the side of the road. It's a lose-lose on the side of the road, people. Your job is to get home safe to your families. Be safe and see you next time.